Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is going to be kicking off the first two episodes tomorrow, or at the time of recording, it's March 23rd, and it's 10:30. Yeah, I just want to talk about Daredevil as a character, and Daredevil as, like, the series is moving forward. Of course, there's a lot of questions left off with Season 1, as well as how Season 2 could be setting up, Season 3. They're already filming, or are already concluded filming on Season 3. The way that the show has been ran is that they'll film, and then that season would be ready for the year after. So they were filming in 2024, and Season 1 came out in 2025, as they were filming Season 2 in 2025 to release Season 2 in 2026, so on and so forth. So Season 3 will get this time next year. I touched upon Daredevil a little bit in the most recent video I did covering the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer, and I really appreciate the kind words you guys left, clips that I posted, and on the video itself. I really do appreciate it. If you guys rock with me, hit that subscribe button and share this video around with your friends. I really appreciate it. We're getting close to 50 subscribers, so help out your boy. I'm trying to grow this channel, trying to make it the best channel I possibly can, but I need you guys' help, and I appreciate the support more than you guys will ever know, and it helps me a bunch. If you find anything I post entertaining, if you learned something from me, then I'm doing my job. I got put onto Daredevil rather late in the process, or rather late compared to when the initial series came out, and I know I alluded to it in the most recent video I did, and if you guys haven't gone check that out, make sure you guys go check it out after watching this one. I really went through all the Defenders and all the Netflix Marvel shows in order last year. It was Daredevil, The Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and even the Defender series as well. Like, I watched all of it in the midst of Season 1 releasing, because I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan nowadays of week to week television. Of course, maybe it's just to keep the numbers high over at Disney Plus, or to keep the anticipation over the course of the following weeks. If it was up to me, drop all 10 or however many episodes Season 2 is gonna get all at once. That's just me, because you can thank Stranger Things and Netflix for frying everybody's brains. But that's just me. If I'm not mistaken, the episodes are going to go, the first two episodes coming out tomorrow, and then it's going to go week to week all the way up until May 2nd, or the second week or first week of May for the final episode. Kingpin is the mayor of New York City and is outlining any and all vigilantism, or is that even a word? That he is outcasting all vigilantes, and that's where Daredevil lies, and he's trying to overthrow Kingpin and get him out of office. The whole thing with the help of the Punisher, the help of Karen Page, and even looks like going into Season 2, even with the help of Bullseye, Daredevil is looking to beat Kingpin once again. And of course, the lasting image I had of Season 1 of Born Again was the seeds being planted of the city without fear, where that's when the city says they've had enough of Kingpin, enough of the corruption, enough of the crime being riddled throughout New York City. Daredevil really grew on me as a hero and as a character. He's definitely been somebody who's shot up my leaderboards and some of my favorites. And I think it's more me expanding my horizons when it comes to the Marvel comics and the Marvel universe as a whole. And I know I gave credit to Jon Bernthal because of his portrayal of Frank Castle, the Punisher, but Charlie Cox is definitely a big reason why I fell in love with the original series. Long story short, the whole Defenders story for Netflix, while all those shows were going on, Daredevil was the center point. His show was the main timeline in this sense, and then you have the other shows kind of following the story that Daredevil was the center of when it came to battling the Hand, or just pretty much what was going on throughout the little pocket dimension of the MCU in Hell's Kitchen, or just in New York City in general, while the Avengers were off freaking trying to fuck up Thanos and shit. But Charlie Cox is perfect as Matt Murdock, Daredevil. You can tell that's the one thing I give those Netflix series big credit. The passion that all these actors had playing their roles. I cannot see anybody else playing these characters, or I couldn't see Daredevil be played by anybody else other than Charlie Cox after watching the Daredevil series. When going into Born Again, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing Luke Cage besides Mike Coulter, Jon Bernthal with the Punisher, Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, and so on and so forth. Leading back to Daredevil and seeing how the story and how the world of New York City was really brought to life with all these series, but with Daredevil in particular, was the violence. He had the no-kill rule, and it was battling that ideology as a crime fighter when it came to dynamics with the Punisher or with others like Bullseye, who were like completely psychotic in that way. The overarching theme where Matt is conflicted between doing the right thing as a lawyer while having the juxtaposition of being a vigilante and someone who is behind a mask and trying to do the right thing outside of the courtroom. And obviously, I wasn't the biggest fan of law shows or cop shows or anything like that. Law and Order. With Daredevil, what goes on outside of those courtroom scenes, or it goes outside the judicial system in that sense, makes it worth it to be more invested in that part of the show. It all just very interesting to me personally as a viewer, and it's something that I felt Marvel and superhero shows or superhero projects were kind of missing, and Daredevil had that edge, or really most all those shows on Netflix at the time had that edge, and Daredevil Born Again is able to tap back in and get that edge back in the MCU. Of course, people want to watch Daredevil for the darker tone that the show has, more violence. It's not senseless violence. It's violence that is deemed necessary for the show to be able to really get the point across and really be able to tell the story in the best possible way. And that original series on Netflix, as well as Born Again, has been some of my favorite pieces of content to come out of Marvel over the last few years. And the fact that it seems like they're trying to gather up all the original actors from the Netflix Defenders era to bring them back in and to include them back into what they have going on is just a testament to how fans appreciated those series as they were going on, as well as the passion that the actors had portraying those roles, whether they were playing the heroes themselves or any of the side characters or the villains. Daredevil Born Again season 1 kicked off with Matt's best friend, Foggy Nelson, being killed by Bullseye. And a lot of people say so we think, but I'm not entirely sure, because I know in the comics Foggy fakes his death. Until we actually see Foggy Nelson again in real time, I just think the way that set the tone for the rest of Daredevil Born Again was Foggy's death and how it affected Matt.
How about old Foggy? He got life.
I just think it would downplay a lot of what season 1 was trying to go for and really tap into that darker tone and see the character of Matt Murdock in such a state, losing someone he cared about that much. Also in season 1 of Born Again, bring back the best of frenemies dynamic between Frank Castle and Daredevil, or the Punisher and Daredevil, I should say. And of course, John Bernthal and Charlie Cox have such great on-screen chemistry. And this even goes back to, I believe, Daredevil season 2, when we first meet John Bernthal's Punisher. I'm alluding to my most recent video talking about the ideologies as crime fighters. I mentioned already with Daredevil, with the confliction, his strict rule of not killing your enemies, incapacitating them. The Punisher leaving nothing to chance, putting those guys in the dirt, as he would like to say. And that's been like the grand debate between fans of the heroes and fans of the shows alike, and fans of just superheroes in general, because the Punisher and Daredevil aren't wrong in their certain ideologies. They're both have their pros and cons, and neither one is ever going to be 100% right. Have to deal with the consequences of those choices. That scene between Matt and Frank in Frank's apartment bunker, that scene where they pretty much bring up that conversation. Frank was arguing why Matt didn't kill Bullseye when he had the chance to, when he threw him off the building the night Foggy died. And I think anybody else would have absolutely killed Bullseye that night if they had the chance. But Matt, Daredevil, the restraint to let him live. And of course, in season 2, it looks like Bullseye is going to get some sort of the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of dynamic with Daredevil in season 2, but also it looks like he's going to get a little bit of a redemption arc, even though Bullseye is one of the most psychotic on-screen characters I think I've seen. He definitely gives the Green Goblin a run for his money from what I've seen, but he's definitely in that same level of crazy. What about old Foggy? Did he get life? That conversation that made the whole season for me. It made the whole season for everybody. That conversation between Punisher and Daredevil, and it really gave tremendous insight between both of their ideologies. So even if you hadn't seen any of the shows previously, and this was the first time you saw these two characters interact, you understood the gravity of their stances on the specific topic of how do you deal with the bad guys. And it kind of sucks to think that the Punisher isn't going to be appearing in season 2 of Born Again, but I think it's obviously going to get made up with the return of Jessica Jones, Christian Ritter, and also the potential return of Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I know they were talking about, it seems like there's going to be a play on the comics for a Heroes for Hire, and if I'm not mistaken, but please correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not that in tune with the comics themselves, so excuse my ignorance. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage pretty much are muscle for hire for Daredevil, who kind of serve as his bodyguards, or it's a combination of Luke Cage and Iron Fist, or Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. So from what I pulled up online, Heroes for Hire is when Foggy hires Luke Cage and Iron Fist to protect Matt from Kingpin's assassins. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be kind of something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the route they kind of go in order for Daredevil to finally take down Kingpin, he's going to need some help. He's not going to be able to do it by himself. And of course, a lot of people will remember that iconic image from in the trailer as well as in Daredevil comics. It's the whole city standing up wearing Daredevil mask to say they've had enough of Kingpin, and it looks like they're going to be calling back to a lot of the original source material from the comics. And I love that this is where the story is heading, because of course it's about, instead of it being the man without fear, it's the city without fear, Hell's Kitchen, and they're not going to get pushed around by anyone. And it kind of, as a viewer, it kind of gives you that sense of empowerment to be like, yeah, I would be one of those people, seeing the senseless violence that has been riddled throughout the city and being able to stand side by side with someone like Daredevil, who has fought tooth and nail to keep the city as safe as it can be. But it gives you that sense of empowerment to be proactive and to stand up for what you believe in. I'm very excited with what season 2 has in store, and real interesting to see how it will set up season 3. And of course, they're going to have plenty of surprises, and I'll be sure to talk about the episodes as they come out. If they go with this Heroes for Hire angle, season 3 will shape up pretty much a sequel season to the original Defenders series, where it was a collaboration of all the Netflix Marvel characters. Seeing Luke Cage back, seeing Danny Rand again, seeing all those characters back together to fight a common enemy, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. But of course, the people who were watching these shows when they were out actively being made on Netflix, it's going to be such a reward for them as well, because this is 8 years down the line when all those shows eventually got canned. Seeing Luke Cage, like Mike Coulter played the hell out of that role and made Luke Cage such an enjoyable show to watch. Expect another video covering Daredevil and this series and this era of Marvel moving forward. But if you guys did enjoy, appreciate subscribing to the channel so you guys get more videos just like this, and also show your support by liking the video and sharing it around with your friends. Appreciate all the love, and let's try to keep this thing going. And yeah, let's go do it for me, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.